Okay, what I wanted to cover today is how to create the liquid for inside of a bottle. So this is a little bottle that I've created, and what I want to do is I'm going to end up rendering this as like a piece of glass, and so I've made it hollow. So if I go here, you can see, if I show our hidden lines, you can see that it's hollow. And then I want to fill this with some liquid. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so what I want to do now is save a new version of this that I'm going to create the liquid with. So I don't want to do it in my original. So what I want to do is come up here and do a save as, and we're going to call this inner liquid. Okay, so now you'll see I don't have my original one up. I've got a new one called inner liquid, so it's going to be a new file so I don't destroy my old file. All right, so what I want to do is go back in time before I did some of this filleting that I did, and I really want to go back in time before I did the top. So click on this, we'll see. Okay, there was a combine. There's the top right there. So I'm going to right click and tell it to roll the history marker back to here. And so there's where I made the cylinder, so I don't really want it. So that's what I want right there. So that's the piece that I want to make the liquid. So what I'm going to do right here is right click and tell it to delete all features after the history marker. So this is going to delete all the stuff that I did where I made the threads and the top and the bevels and everything. But remember, I'm not deleting it off of the original. All that information is still on the original. I'm just deleting it off of here. And so this is where this timeline will stop. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to kill this timeline. So in other words, I want to collapse this mesh to only be in a mesh. So to do that, if I go right up here at the top on my composition and I right click and I go down here, do not capture design history, what that does is deletes your history, similar to what you could do in Maya when you delete construction history in Maya. It's going to give me a warning. It says, oh, wait, be careful because you're deleting all of these history. And I'm going to go, yeah, I know that. And so then it deletes the history. I also have a bunch of other stuff in here I don't need anymore. Let's delete all that. So we just have our bottle, and then I'm going to, let's rename this liquid. Okay, so now this is a clean file, okay, and I can turn my design history back on. And then I'm going to save this. Okay. All right, so now I have a version of this that's saved. And we can go over here and look. And that's it right there. Okay, so now let's go back and let's open our actual perfume bottle again. And delete that. Okay, so there we are. All right, so there is our perfume bottle, and I've got some extra stuff in it. So let's get rid of some of this stuff. And I'm just going to remove that. And that. Just clean it up a little bit, and then that is our final bottle. Okay, so that's cleaned up. Control 5 on your keyboard allows us to see the inside. Control 6 turns it back solid. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then what I'm going to do is to go back to our and I'm going to close down this inner liquid. Okay, so we're going to go back to our inner liquid. And what I want to do is I'm going to drag it and drop it out in my viewport. This allows you to merge two files together. So I'm taking that inner liquid and I'm going to merge it in here. Okay, now by default it'll go right back to where it originally was. So I'm going to click OK. And that'll place it right back where it was. Now, I'm going to turn off our original, and you'll see there it is right in place. Okay, now you'll see right here when I do this, it's got a little chain link in here. Now, the way that Fusion works is this is really an instance of the original. So this allows me to actually go back to the original and make changes to the original, and it would update back in here. Okay, but for right now, I want this to be unique. So all I have to do is right click on this, okay, and I go down here, break link, and now this is unique to itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick the entire piece, and then I'm going to go modify here, offset face, and then I've got to put a negative number in here. So let's go like maybe -2, and it's going to start shrinking it. Now I need to go ahead and turn my other body on so that I can kind of see how much I'm shrinking it. And I can see I want more than that. Let's go for 4. And I'm going to do Control 5 so I can kind of see into my piece. And I think that looks like that will interpenetrate into the glass fine. So I'm going to click OK. And so you can see that that's inside, and you have to look close, but you can see it's splitting right down because there's the outside of the glass, and then that dotted line right there is the inside of the glass, and then I'm kind of splitting right through it, and that's what I need. We need it to split right through the edge of where the glass is. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now what we want to do, now that we've got this in place, let's go ahead and save it. What we need to do is we need to decide where we want the liquid to stop up here at the top. So let's make sure we're in our orthographic view, go to the front, and we can turn our bottle back on where we can kind of see it. So I'm going to draw a sketch, and I'm going to hide the bottles for a second so I click on this plane, and then I'm going to draw a line right about where I want it to cut, and I'm going to tell it to cut say, I'm going to go, say, right about here. And click OK. Finish that sketch. So now what I can do is do a split body. And so I'm going to pick the body, and then I'm going to pick the splitting tool, and then it'll cut that. Okay, so that'll give me the top of where my liquid's going to be. All right, now I need to create a little inset. We're going to create the meniscus where it should rise a little bit. So what I'm going to do is pick the top, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to extrude it, and I'm going to extrude it out. Now, really, to a certain degree, we need to extrude it quite a bit. We need it more than what we need, so we'll go with something like that. Then over here, it defaults to join. I want this to be a separate body. So we're going to make this a separate body and click OK. So now I have this top piece, okay, and this is going to be my cutter. I'm going to cut into this other surface with that. And so the next thing I want to do is I need to fillet this bottom edge. So I'm going to come in here, fillet, and fillet the whole thing. By the way, another easier way to do that is to go fillet up here, and then you can fill it by a polygon. I can pick the whole thing. Both of them would work. And so I'm going to go with, we don't want it too big, maybe something like that. Okay, now the angle that it's doing that fillet is at a 45-degree angle, okay, and that makes for a really tall rise for your meniscus. It's really wouldn't be that tall. So what I'm going to do is scale this. Okay, so we're going to go modify, scale, and then we pick our object. Now by default it's going to be uniform, and I want it non-uniform. Okay, and then you can pick a point where you want it to scale to. I'm going to pick that point right there. And now I can get closer into this, then turn off your point. And now I can start scaling this down. And what I'm trying to do is to flatten that meniscus so that it gives me a shape pretty similar to that. That looks pretty good right there. And then I'm going to click OK. Okay. All right, so we're going to turn our liquid back on. And then I'm going to right click out here in the background. By the way, a lot of people don't know this, but when you're on top of a face like this and you right click to move, it's going to default to face in here. Now I can always change it to body. But if you're not on top of something and you right click out here and move, it defaults to body. And then I can pick the body. And then we're going to move this down so it's interpenetrating, and let's go to the front. And so we want that interpenetrating down into that, like so. And then what we're going to do is to combine them. So this is our target body, and then we want to do this as a cut, and then this is our tool. I'm going to tell it to go ahead and keep my tool in case I need to come back to it, and click OK, and then I can hide the cutter, and you'll see now I've got a little slight rise as it gets to the edge. That's your meniscus, which is caused by when liquid goes up against another surface, plastic or glass, the tension that's between the water surface and the other surface causes the water to pucker up a little bit, and so that's what's causing that. Okay, so now there is, I can turn my bottle back on, and so now I have the bottle, and I have the liquid that's inside of that, ready for me to go into the next stage, which is staging this and putting my materials on it. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. You know, when we're doing something like a lathe, it's very easy to create the inside, but when you're creating an object through other ways, through lofts in certain ways, it's a little bit harder to create the liquid inside, and so this is a good way to allow us to do that. Okay, hopefully that helped you. Thank you.